In and Out with me, Professor Yalman, from the TEDU radio studios at TED University. This is to reach out to those who have questions and want desperate answers. Why me? Because I've seen it all. I've seen it all in different aspects. I have been up, down, I was fired, I was hired, I was poor, I was rich. I fell in love, I lost my love, I became a kite surfer, I became a writer, I became a poet, I became a musician. I never stopped trying. At the end of the day, I never stopped trying. I never lost my hope. There was always a pinnacle in my life where the answers to those questions came. And if those answers are not coming by themselves, here's your chance to ask us. Ask us and I will answer them. As I say, life can get even or you can get a 7. So a 7 you can get much easier, not just believing in luck, but being persistently pursuing your path, which is your authentic path. Ask the questions. In and Out with Professor Yalman every week on Thursday with you. In and Out with Professor Yalman at Radio TEDU University TED Studios at Ankara. We're at the heart of Ankara and we have a special guest today. I am going to call him a dear friend, but at the same time, he's our dean of our Faculty of Economics and Administrative Sciences. I'm reading this because it's so long. We want to call it as the TEDU Business School, actually, because that's what we're talking about. Professor Dr. Levent Akdeniz is with us. It's so exciting to have you here because we have our morning talks every Friday. Yep. Where we drink his elixir of specific herbs, yep. And we talk from 8 to 9. But then I said to him, Levent, why don't you come over and we make it public, our conversations? And one of the main topics that we talk is actually lifelong learning and in abbreviation format, learning how to learn. Yep. And of course, this is a huge topic. You know, if we ask ChatGPT, it's going to list us a lot of things. But we want to talk about it from our perspectives because we are in a university where actually we do the classical format of lifelong learning. We have our new executive MBA program, which you have masterminded. We have our continuing education department where we cater certain courses for other businesses. They come to our school, whatever. But from your perspective, what is learning how to learn?
Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank you for having me here. This is my first experience, online radio experience, and first time that I'm in such an atmosphere here. It's a little bit exciting, and then, if I make any mistakes, please
there are no mistakes.
Forgive me.
No, there are no mistakes.
Okay, learning. First of all, prepare a cultivative environment for learners is the job of a university, and that's what we try to do. We try to make our students learn and learn effectively. And we, do our programs, curriculums, in order to, of course, relay some information to students, but that's part of it. An important part is to make them learn, make them to become a lifelong learners. How well do we do this in the universities is another question.
Okay.
But all universities in the world should focus on this.
But as we speak with you, we always address also the fact that we're not just actually being teachers, but we also learn from them, right?
Correct. We learn from them. But, in order to learn from them, we have to place seeds of, learning into them. So we have to somehow cultivate this curiosity in them and make them have inquisitive minds. So then they can bring these questions. They can bring, problems into the classroom settings. We have to encourage such an environment. And then, especially this generation, they don't want to talk. Especially they don't want to talk.
This is very interesting, because right now, all of a sudden, as a professional scientist, as well as an educator with double hats, and at the same time as a business leader, you're leading the faculty. You're also bringing aspects of psychology into this, because
it has to be.
It has to be, right? I mean, you're saying they're not talking, and I am saying a step further. They're not just talking; they're not asking.
Yep. Because there are many reasons for that. First of all, I think we as instructors have to create an environment in which they feel comfortable, so that they leave all their whatever, this
worries
cages behind them, and then come there to learn. So then they should be free to ask any question. That's one thing. So preparing an environment.
Yeah, an environment. So you're saying it's an act of bravery. For that act of bravery to happen, number one condition is environment.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we have to create such an environment. So we have to approach to them as adults, and we have to make them get rid of their shy timidness, so then they can be open-hearted. But this is not enough. Maybe we do our best to prepare such an environment, but that's not enough. For them to be able to join class discussions, ask questions, they need to also increase their curiosity or knowledge in them, and that's also another thing that we have to try to seed into them.
So you're saying, actually, the professors has to be clever enough not to sort of orate or narrate from slides, whatever, but give them topics to research.
Exactly. So our projects, homework assignments, maybe sometimes quizzes, should lead to an environment like that. It's not like transferring an information from a source to those students. That's old method, and which doesn't work well. We have to create, we have to make them wonder, so that they'll do further research. And we have this in one class. It won't happen, by the way. We have to have all of our classes in this way, so that they become lifelong researchers. Search things, try to understand, and then maybe put on the top of it, develop it.
How important do you think is that all the you said something very critical? It shouldn't be just one class. The entire system should be like that.
Exactly.
So how is it important that the student actually experiences a similar environment in different classes? So it's a collective effort.
Yes,
then.
It is very, very important. If one or two classes try to do this, but others don't, because especially in this young generation, this needs to become a habit. Habit of searching for information, habit of learning, habit of wondering about things. So then things don't become a habit quickly.
Yeah.
It needs to be repetitive. So then they learn in this class, and the next class do the same thing. In the next class they do the same thing. Then it becomes a habit. I don't know, but it may take about maybe a couple of years to make this the whole thing, the system, as a habit. Then they will start reading before going to bed, maybe half an hour. So then they will develop an appetite in themselves to the subject matter that they are interested in, and also maybe a wider topics. So then they become better people, then they can stay competitive out there in the real world. Otherwise, if you just teach them the material, like fundamentals of finance, fundamentals of marketing, these issues, fine, they need that, but they cannot build on the top of that information. For them to be able to build on the top of that information, they have to have this inquisitive minds.
And for that inquisitive mindset, you're saying that the environment and the setup and the way the content is delivered and the way the content is structured should be so that the experimental experiencing
exactly
should be one of the core elements
in any course. This is how I start my. I teach Introduction to Business course.
Yeah.
These are like first-year students who freshly graduated from high school and came to this university environment, college environment. In the very first day, I give them a quiz. It's an online quiz through Kahoot. Most probably, many other instructors do that as well. I ask them 10 questions. First 9 of them are simple things that affect maybe our daily lives. Like I ask them, like, what is the level of inflation in Turkey?
Mm-hmm.
And what is the highest brand value company in Turkey? Things like that. 9 of them.
Mm-hmm.
What is the largest accommodation chain? It's a multiple choice, like Marriott, Sheraton, and then Airbnb. And the success rate is about 25% in the first 9 questions.
Even though you're introducing these questions with the format that they're used to. For example, in my classes, they're not used to the format of my exams because I don't care about the solution. I care about the way their authentic approach to the solution. So they can use anything. But yours is, I find it quite peculiar, the number 25%, because you're introducing this with a format that they are used to, test system, okay? They're used to that.
Exactly.
But even that provides us with a very low level of knowledge.
Yeah, but who are those students? Those students are the ones who chose to study business administration, right? So then they must develop an appetite in themselves to have an idea, at least in the vicinity, not an exact maybe figure, but some approximate number, right? The level of inflation in Turkey, is it like 100%, 5%, 50%? Have some idea about what's going on around the world, around you. That's then my last question, there comes the picky part. My last question is that I put a picture on the screen, usually a celebrity's picture. Like last one, I chose Justin Bieber.
Okay.
Success rate is 100%.
Okay.
My conclusion out of this exercise is that I don't care how much time you spend in social media. Mm-hmm. I don't care how well you recognize celebrities, blah, blah. Fine. But at the same time, from now on, you have to have some idea about these type of issues that I asked you earlier. Those 9 questions. You have to develop an appetite in you to follow resources, to get information. You have to create your inquisitive mind from now on.
Actually, you're giving us the recipe right now of learning how to learn.
Exactly.
But
as a start.
Let me ask you a poking question, because I like that. I like to poke. Okay. Now, let's assume that one student says, "Dear Dean, all those 9 questions I can ask ChatGPT, and it's already in there. So why are you asking these questions? Why do I need to learn these things?"
Okay.
Because we talk about this with you very often. You're not against ChatGPT. I know that.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I know that.
ChatGPT is a very good tool that arose in the last.
Yeah, it's a very good tool.
Years.
But now, what is your perspective on that? My question.
Very good. Let me wrap up my earlier.
Sure.
Then I'll come to this.
Okay.
Please remind it to me. And in that last picture, Justin
Bieber,
all students got it right. There are 3 more options there. Choices in the multiple choice. Daniel Ek, Zhang Ming, and and then I asked them, do you know who these other people are? They say no. But do you know that you use the service or the good that they have introduced into the world? They said, no idea. One is the founder of Spotify. The other one is the founder of Netflix. The other one is the founder of TikTok. They use those tools in their everyday lives, but they don't know who started these businesses, right? Now, coming to your question, I have no problem with ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a very strong tool that will, change the way we do businesses. Right? But this is reading, learning something, getting a feeling that it makes you happy, creates this inquisitive mind setting. Otherwise, if you do not create this inquisitive mind, then if you ask everything to ChatGPT, you won't be a leader. You can only be a follower. We want leaders. Those who, require correct information, necessary information, and criticize it, synthesize it, and at the end make their own whatever decisions, action plans, blah blah. Otherwise, learning something from ChatGPT, anyone else can learn from ChatGPT, right? It won't give you much ability. But of course, after learning from ChatGPT, learning from other sources, and then being able to criticize it, not only criticize, synthesize it, and turn that information into a useful one for your future movements, that's an ability, I think.
You're saying something very important. You're talking about, since we are like in the process of promoting a very influential business school. And business school, what does business school do? It doesn't just create managers. It doesn't just help create startups. It creates also leaders.
Exactly.
It's very, very important.
That's our objective.
But you're saying something. You said something very, very important. Now, ChatGPT. When you ask the question to ChatGPT versus this mind-triggering enthusiasm and excitement. See, you're saying this. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're saying asking something to ChatGPT won't have a hormonal effect on your body.
Yes.
So biologically, you're not producing any hormones.
Nothing.
So there's no adrenaline. No. There's no endorphin.
Joy.
There's no serenity.
No.
There's no feeling of creating these hormones to the effect of boosting your chemical body.
Yep.
But to be a leader, you need this.
Exactly.
So, if you are just utilizing the fast benefits of ChatGPT, you're not going to be going back to your biological self and expanding over there. But let me ask you something else.
But let me add to this.
Sure.
It's not only that. Also, you can ask a question to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT will spit out a lot of answers for you, or perspectives for you. But how you ask your question, the quality of your question is also important to get better answers. Is that correct?
Yes. That was actually my question.
Okay.
The question is, how can we learn to ask better questions?
By, again, I'm repeating myself. That is by having a inquisitive mind, cultivating curiosity in you, so that you learn a lot from all kind of sources, then synthesize that information, and then ask to the point, correct, larger perspective questions to the ChatGPT.
Then this means this gives a lot of responsibility to us, to you and to the faculty, whatever. For example,
to us and to the students as well.
Yes, but we ignite that. For example, you did something knowingly or unknowingly, because it's you. While we were entering the studio, I introduced you to two students who are from the computer engineering faculty, and who are taking my classes, B447 and B464. And then as I introduced you, you actually automatically implemented this. You said, "Yes, my door is always open. Come to me, but come to me after thinking about where you're going to be."
Yeah, where do you see yourself in 20 years from now? Answer that question first. Ask it to yourself, and then come to me.
Now, this question is no ChatGPT question.
Exactly. That's my point.
That's the point.
You got it right.
I got it right?
You got it right.
So
and that's my point.
This student is going to think about this. Because you're doing your part. You're leaving your door open, which is something spectacular.
Always. My door is open.
I mean, to our audience, I want to say this. I cannot underline this well enough, more enough. This gentleman, this dear friend of mine, our dean, he's there at 8 a.m. And his door is open. His light is always on. So use this. But before using it, think about this question. Because he's saying to you, hey, I am poking you in terms of the curiosity of, what's going to happen to you in 20 years. So let me know, because as they are doing that, you're starting a process, right?
Exactly. I'll do my best to share my experience from my life and from my knowledge, right? But still, it's their business, right? It's their task that they have to build on the top of it. So that means they have to read more, they have to search more, and then so that, they can become better people, and they can reach to that destination easily, maybe.
Why do you think in Turkey, collectively I see this, not just in our university, but in a lot of universities I see this. Why is the quality of asking questions so mediocre compared to some other platforms?
From
your perspective.
In the very root of it, it's like, again, lack of curiosity. People are not curious about all aspects of an issue. They just find out, or they just hear, learn, maybe one word, maybe one sentence, and then next is ask about it. But they don't think about it in many aspects, in many perspectives, criticize it in their mind, synthesize it. They don't do that. They just ask. I don't know how well it's related to this, but for example, sometimes I ask my son, go get me something from that room. He goes there and come back and says, I couldn't find it there. Did you look around? No, you told me that it was on the sofa. I looked on the top of on the sofa, but there was nothing. But did you look maybe the chair across that? No. See? That's a result of, I think, current environment. They do whatever you tell them to do. They never think further, wider. As a result, they become like soldiers.
So you're saying the key to ask better questions is to go out of your comfort zone.
Exactly.
So now we're always like, as we're talking in these microphones, we're talking about actually what the students and how the students should do. What would your call be to the professors? What would you say to the professors? Because they're listening to this program as well.
Yep.
I know. I've heard that. So I'm very delighted. So I'm going to have more of them here after you. But what would be your call or to the professors? What would you encourage them to? So that we create this environment and increase curiosity.
I have to be very careful here. I don't want to enter into their comfort zones either. But I already said that, by the way. I think they should create an environment in classrooms that would allow, lead, push students to come out of their comfort zones, students' comfort zones, and then have them ask questions, bring issues to discuss. They can spare like even 10 minutes just for this purpose in their classroom settings. It can be about the subject matter that they teach in class. It can be about anything. If we all do this exercise in our classes, it will, push our students to have this as a habit. And then in order to join these class discussions, interaction, students maybe will read before they come. We'll do search. It doesn't have to be reading only. We'll do some maybe internet search. And then they will try to increase their intellectual base. I think that's very, important for students. That's an ability, I think, for students. My bottom line is that what do I suggest my fellow professors to do? They have to create such an environment in classrooms.
Okay, so
it's not only lecturing from one mouth.
They should allow. They should lead. They should push.
Encourage.
Yes.
Encourage students to do, and never ever make them feel down because of a question they ask. Encourage them.
So every question is a variable question.
Yes, there is no stupid question. Every question is a variable one, right? And then have them courage enough to ask questions.
I have two more questions for you. I have a lot of questions, but two more questions because we don't want to make.
I have two more answers for you then.
Excellent. Okay. We don't want to make this program, but I will have you again here for sure. hopefully in new premises of this radio. You know where it is right now.
All right. I'll do my best.
Excellent.
As long as my schedule allows me.
Super. Number one question. Two questions. Number one question is, what do you think, in your opinion, is the difference, or should be the difference, between a freshman and a senior student?
Okay.
How would you say, from your perspective, yes, this kid in 4 years, 6 years, whatever, he entered or she entered and she graduated, and in my opinion, she is this.
Okay. All right. There are so many things I can say about that, right? But the first, if I were to say only one thing that differentiates the first year and the senior, right? The way he or she speaks. I think first year freshman students, they usually speak with one-word sentences or two-word sentences. Freshman, these are the freshmen. Senior, they make complete sentences. I think if we can make our students to have, when they express an idea, a point, if we can make them say a full sentence with all aspects covered in it, that is our success, in my opinion.
That's wonderful. Well said. Because I listened to one of the speakers at the Global Radio Day in the event here, and his name was Suha. He's the head of the ITU radio. He said a cultivated voice is a voice who has a collective wisdom experience. Yep. So you're saying the difference between the senior and the freshman is the way the senior has cultivated things into his entire format of being.
You said it better. That's what I meant to say.
No, I'm just summarizing. Now, my last question for today is, again, thank you very much for your time, for your valuable time, is, since we are talking about learning how to learn, we have a lot of people who are going to be graduating this year. Mm-hmm. How should they continue their education, in your opinion?
Okay. First of all, after graduating, they should refresh their knowledge by either doing maybe internet searches, but that's not enough. They should also continue formal education programs. For example, we have one like Executive MBA. We just started that program. Those managers who need to develop their soft skills should go to those classroom setups. Why? First of all, learning in those setups do not happen through the lecture only, to the discussions that are made in class, bringing a different perspective to the same question from different sectors, from different experiences. That also add a lot to the participant. That's why I suggest any graduate from a college to do whatever they their jobs, but time to time they should come back to the this classroom settings. It can be a degree program, it can be a certification program, or any other classroom training. I think these are also helpful.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Professor.
Thank
Dr.
you very much, Semih.
Levent Akdeniz, our Dean.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. From Radio TEDU Ankara Studios at TED University, In and Out with Professor Yalman and Dean Akdeniz. I hope
Don't stress on this Dean part.
I hope. Well, I hope to sort of have him again, maybe in a setup where we have more students. Maybe we can do a enlarged talk show format. This is for you, Arda, to think about as a radio.
What? Maybe that's a good program style, that have this in a classroom setting, so that people ask questions.
Excellent. So why don't we try that experiment with that once?
Yep.
We can maybe ask Burze Hoca to contribute as well.
Yep.
Maybe we can have the startup topic as such. You
Yep.
know, have it in one of our classes. So this is up to the skills of Arda and his team and Emirhan and everybody. And again, in and out with Professor Yalman and Dean Akdeniz, Radio TEDU Ankara Studios at TED University. Continue listening to us at Spotify or at Radio TEDU website.
Thank you.